So say you had your son was in school and you had to pick one of the two. Would you rather your son was the bully or being bullied?
Wow, wait, that's a deep question. Got a new episode out featuring Ryan Lee. Check out his new book, If Only You Knew. If you got sons, even daughters, man, get this book for them. Get this book for yourself as well. It's not a long book, it's only 96 pages, so you can read that quickly. Talks about transforming pain into purpose, and it's just like a journey of self-discovery. So hope you like this episode featuring Ryan Lee, Gabriel, myself and Wes.
So why was you late? We've been waiting for you for about half an hour now.
The business.
Sorry?
The business.
I know, but it's quite unprofessional of you to be so late when we have guests waiting.
I literally was stuck in Costco for like an hour.
Okay.
There was no parking one. The line went onto the traffic light on the main road, Purley Road.
Are you usually late on dates? When you're meeting women, are you usually late?
Sometimes. If something like this happens last minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just feel that because it's us men, you decided to keep us
Get out of here, man.
No, it's fine.
This guy, you're being a joker. No, I was there. No, I was at Costco from 1:55.
You actually knew the time?
Yeah, I knew the time because I bust out the gym. I looked at my phone and I remember you saying, "Oh, we're here recording." So I went out the gym.
That's fine, no problem. No problem. That's fine. We've got a guest with us today who goes by the name of Ryan, who's an author of a book called If You Only Knew. And,
If Only You Knew.
If Only You Knew. And I find this, I think it's really interesting because I've known Ryan for probably, I think about probably a bit more than 20 years now. I know him through a good friend called Edward, who I grew up with, who was actually, we went to secondary school together, and he was actually my neighbour. He lived literally across the street from me. And I think I know you through Edward. The funny thing is that I know of you, but I think I knew a lot more of you from reading your book, which I was shocked and surprised at. I think I'm going to sit here so at least the camera can get both of us, which I was shocked. And it's funny because from what I know of you, it's crazy because I didn't seem to realise there were so many layers to you. Because what I know of you is from boxing. Yeah. Okay. I know you through being younger with Edward and whatever we used to do growing up.
Yeah.
So when I read the book and I was reading the chapters, I was like, I almost looked at the author name again. I thought maybe I bought the wrong book. I was like, what? What's going on here? And then there's so many layers to it. And what I find interesting is that you've delved into your life. And then you've given so many different elements of it so that people can understand why certain things happen. Yeah. And I just want to know, so just tell us a bit about yourself background-wise. So where was you born? Were you born in Croydon? Was you born abroad? Your background family-wise? Tell us a bit about you for those who don't know you.
My name's Ryan Lee. I was born in Bristol. I moved to London when I was maybe 3 or 4. Jamaican heritage, that's where the foundation started. So really, I was born and raised in Croydon, more or less, but Bristol, I've always had a lot of ties with Bristol. That's where my family.
Do you know the main reason why your parents moved to Croydon from Bristol?
I can't tell you, but I know it was just a natural movement. I know my dad moved first, and then my mum moved after, and then eventually. Many of my other family members moved.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned your dad because in the book you pay homage to your dad and you mention how much of an important factor he was in your life. And it's going to be a very silly question, but first of all, rest in peace to Pops.
Thank you, brother.
And I would say, how important would you say the role of your dad in your life was and in shaping who you are and even shaping the elements of this book? If you can just let us know how important, what kind of relationship you had with your father.
Yeah, I had a great relationship with my dad. He was a great man. He is a great man, and he was a father to many as well. He had a deep level of emotional intelligence. He was very driven, and like myself, he reached a stage where in his life where he had to make that transition, and he rose to the top in his career. A senior position in the social working field, but yeah, always supportive, never judgmental, protector, fighter, And he showed me the definition of what legacy is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say from how you saw your father? What would you say a man is? So I think a lot of young boys now struggle with the identity of what a man is. What would you say if you had to define what a man is? What would you say a man is? I know it's a very broad question, but from what your dad installed in you and what you saw, how would you define what a man is? If there is any way to say what a man is.
That's a good question. Like, what I'm going to do when I answer it, I'm just going to just think of my dad and answer it in that sense.
Yes.
But I would say somebody that's true to self, somebody that accepts their flaws, somebody that takes accountability, somebody that can listen, share, and not be afraid to be vulnerable.
Now, so you mentioned that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned being vulnerable, and that's something that I think a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think as men, it's very hard to open up. And you mentioned your dad being vulnerable, and that's the hardest part for me, even when it comes to relations with either men or women. Just opening up and being able to.
100%.
What do you? Being a therapist, being a counsellor, how do you feel? Why do you feel people in general struggle with being vulnerable? Because I struggle with it badly. I find it hard to open up.
Fear of being judged, suppressed feelings, just the feeling of being emotionally naked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The feeling of being seen. And for some people it's like they hide away for so long. So yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's one thing I've always struggled with. I don't know yourself, Chizo, but when it comes to being vulnerable, how do you see it? Are you one that's open when it comes to your emotions and feelings, or how would you say you navigate that?
Recent years more open. Before I was very super closed. You couldn't figure out anything that was going on. I could be having the worst moment in time, but you would never be able to tell that anything was, you know what I mean? I always used to suppress everything. I just literally used to just have the mentality of tomorrow's another day. You know what I mean? I would never actually deal with the issue, but I think with time, as I got older, I'm more expressive. You know what I mean? I would more say what's going on to friends, family, you know what I mean? Even female friends. Whereas before, I wouldn't even go that step with them. You know what I'm saying? So I think with age now, I realise it's not good to hold in whatever's, you know what I mean? Because if not, you're just gonna age faster. Yeah.
I can relate to that, and I agree with you. Same, bro. I can relate to that.
Now with now looking at us growing up. So we've grown up in Croydon most of our lives, and I still live in the Croydon borough. I don't know if you still live in.
I'm still
in the ends,
local,
as they call it. How much, when people talk about being products of the environment, how much of a product are we of our environment, or would you say that it's an excuse that's made? So looking at your journey, okay, I've read your book. I don't want to give too much away in it, but I've read the journey from you growing up, you walking on the streets. I think you said you had 6 siblings. I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
6 siblings. So how much living in Croydon, would you say it's an excuse if someone gets caught up in things they shouldn't do? So for instance, let's say you're raised in Croydon, I'm raised in Croydon. How much of an impact does your environment, being your peers, have on how a child behaves? Meaning, can we automatically blame a parent for the misdemeanors that their 14-year-old son gets into, or their 13-year-old son gets into? Can we blame the parent?
A few different questions. Firstly, I think the environment does play a major part. Can we blame the parents? No, I don't think we can blame the parents directly, but I think, in my opinion, there is a certain accountability that the parents need to hold, and that comes with awareness, awareness of self. A parent might not be aware of their self, and they're just doing the best that they can, but at the same time, what they're implementing, or certain things they're showing their children is molding them and changing them for the worse. Back to environment, I definitely think it plays a major role, because talking from my experience, I didn't really feel that there was much options. Yeah, in terms of the choices I had. So I don't know, maybe if you was in a different environment, it's not just Croydon. There's so many different areas that are active in that sense, but depending on your environment, it's going to be depending on your options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think in the book, there's one thing which I think that was highlighted, or one thing that I saw was your journey, for instance, in just walking on the street, for instance, and then let's say, for instance, someone catches your eye, or they catches your eye, and all of a sudden beef escalates. So for instance, you grew up in Brixton.
Yeah.
How many times did you get into some altercation of beef just because someone looked in your eyes? I don't get it. How does this? It's mad because most of the beef which we had growing up was just you're walking, someone looks at you, and before you know it, you're swinging. You're just like,
it's weird because like,
what is that?
If you fast forward now, yeah, I'll give you an example. So I grew up around, you lot know, like Stockwell Road. So you got Stockwell Road, you got Stockwell Park Estate. Then on this other side, you got Belfields Road. You got like a few roads, Stansfield, Daliel, but they're all houses.
Yeah.
So where I grew up, my road was a cut-through road. Stockwell Park Estate, I went Stockwell Park Secondary School for 1 year. So a lot of the people there I went to school with. Then some of them went to Tennyson, so we all knew each other from school. But two of my brethren in year 9, they had an argument and they fought in school. One lives there, one lives on my side. Instantly from, I'll say year 9 till about 2013, I never crossed the road into that side.
Wow.
I'll see them across the road, nod.
Yeah.
But it was just it was kind of like a no-go for me because I'm from the other side.
Yeah.
Then, same thing with Stockwell Gardens. One of my brethren had a fight with someone from there, from my side. I know people from there, but I just would never go in there. So Stockwell Road, I would walk out and walk on Stockwell Road, but would never left or right unless I'm in my car. You get what I'm saying? Then 2013, I did a boot camp in Stockwell Park Estate, and I remember when I started that, everyone was like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Like, you never come down this way." I'm like, "We're too grown now."
Yeah.
And fast forward now, most people who were beefing, all friends.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's only like a odd few that it went a bit too far left that you know there would never be.
What part of it do you think that causes us to see someone of our same skin color, and then you just look at someone and then, as you said in the book, you're right.
Yeah.
And the guy says to you, "Yeah, I'm good. Why are you asking? You're right."
Yeah.
And then
You know what's crazy with that? Yeah?
it's mad. How do you just start fighting?
Think of it like this here. Let's say like,
Yeah.
alright. Let's say like that happens between both of us here, me and you. Then all of a sudden, yeah, when holiday in Mexico,
Yeah.
perfect example.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of people that I'm friends with that I met in 2011 that for years my friends would see them
Yeah.
and this
the beach was squashed for some reason.
they're on holiday. Oh my god, oh, what are you saying?
Yeah.
You've never spoke to them in your life, but all of a sudden you're in a foreign territory and it's like,
hello to each other.
now we become one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why are we not one
I think
here?
I agree with you, bro.
Yeah.
And really, unity is really where it's at. But I think it's a program, and basically, when that I don't know what you want to call it, that thing starts when you're looking at a man and then it goes off. Yeah. It's all right. Let me talk from my personal experience. Now, I can't count on 3 hands how much times I've had confrontation and it started like that and it's turned to whatever it's turned to. But what I will say is I reached a certain level where when I was becoming more aware of myself, it was like I would look at a man and then look away straight away because I know myself.
Okay.
Or I might look at a man and just nod and then because I know myself.
Yeah.
I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And plus, really, it's peace I'm promoting. So I think it gets to a level where there's an element of, like I said, the reason I say a program is because it's just okay. Like you said, that was just the program that we look when we're looking at either a man backs down. So it's a lot to do with ego.
How much of it is fair? So I think
There is a level of fear.
How much time is someone looking and you're looking back and is it? I don't want to use the word that you're scared, but how much of it is it because we think someone's trying us
Yeah.
And then you want to show that I'm not a dickhead.
Yeah.
So therefore, what you looking at?
Yeah.
Well, my thing is that where does that looking even? It's a part of the looking part that I'm trying to remember how it even started. Like, so let's say I'm walking past you and I'm gonna look at you to see whether you know me or to see if I know your face. We've established that we don't know each other. So it's almost like you don't want to look away now. I don't want to look away, and it's like, what's up? And then we're now beefing.
Do you want to know what's weird about that as well? Yeah, because what part of Croydon you grew up?
Well, to me, Croydon's it's different now, but to me, Croydon, South and North Fulton Heath, it's all
Croydon,
really,
yeah.
it's all really the same thing for me.
Perfect. So you see, like the issues with a man will look at you, and you look back, and it will turn into something. That side of Croydon has always been like that. When you go to the other side of Croydon, down that side, Coulsdon, and you see the same man, it's like the same thing as Cancun. Bro, what are you saying? Because it's different on that area. Kelly, Coulsdon.
So are you saying then that when we're in these environments so closed in, we're almost programmed to want to to war each other in a mad way?
I think there's different programs that we adopt. You know what I mean? And the same way we can adopt negative programs is the same way we can adopt positive
ones. Yeah.
So that's a program, because it must be a program because it's been installed. People are signing up for it. And like you said, it's been going on for years.
Yeah.
And it's still going on up till today.
So what made you want to put your thoughts into ink? Why the book, if only you knew? What made you decide to put your thoughts into ink and say, you know what, I'm going to leave a footprint in this world so that people understand? So why the book? Why do we need this book? And why is it not just another book that a guy's written? Yeah.
What made me want to go through this process of writing? I never thought that I'd ever write a book. I never thought I'd write a book. And the process really started from a conversation.
Okay.
One of my friends was telling me, yo, you should write a book. And in that moment, the book was formed. As we're talking, the book started forming. So really and truly, the book was spirit-led.
Okay.
Because it was like, I didn't have to try to structure it too much. It was just like, it just was all there.
Yeah.
I think the book covers many different aspects. And I feel like the book, there's something for mothers to get a deeper understanding of what their children are going through out here, what their partners are going through or men are going through. For children, male and female, there's something. I think there's something in this book.
For everyone, yeah.
For everyone. And the process of writing it again was, you know, like a musician or artist when they go into the studio and they create a masterpiece in their mind. It doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks, because you know, I found a place where I could express myself.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Because back to what Christo was saying earlier, just that being very reserved, and you have to remember for a lot of youths growing up on the roads, they're trying to do everything unseen. Maybe not so much nowadays with social media and everything, but they're trying to do everything unseen. They're trying to be unseen in every way. Even if something as basic as silly as it sounds, like just even like details that you think, raw, you know, bang, you're just trying to be unseen in every way, shape or form. So for me, I was that child. You know what I'm saying? So I reached this. Boxing was the first stage where I could really come out and be like, you know what I mean? Like,
why did you go into boxing?
What age did you get into it? Did you get into boxing?
I got into boxing when I was 12.
Yeah.
But I was just more or less training for a year. I didn't start fighting. Yeah. And then I jumped back on it, I think when I was around, I was always in and out of gyms, but then I jumped back on it and started. I think I had my first official fight at 24, so quite late for boxing terms, but I always when I used to watch TV, I used to watch TV and I always used to think, I know I can basically go and I can do this, you get me? Because I knew I could do this.
I know you mentioned in your book that you was training in the back of a pub. I think it was called the Queen of the South or Queen of England or something.
No,
like that.
It was called Prince of Wales.
Prince of Wales.
Yeah, Prince of Wales in Fulton Heath. Yeah.
Okay. So was that like the first boxing gym you went to?
That was the first boxing gym I went to. Yeah, that was in Fulton Heath. It was a Mackenzie gym.
And
my
uncle's gym.
Seriously, your uncle's gym.
That's your uncle's.
Oh, okay.
There's one around the corner on Brighton Road as well.
But that one was old school. That one was like
Clinton's one.
Yeah, that was like a Yeah, it was a proper gym. There was a pub downstairs,
Okay.
and the gym was upstairs. So yeah, that was really the first initial introduction to boxing. But yeah, I started taking it more seriously, and I knew I had a certain kind of a gift for boxing. So
Yeah.
I
What would you say boxing done for you mentally?
boxing brought a lot of discipline, drive, in terms of like where I wanted to take it. It helps you to. There's not really much room for ego and boxing to a degree. What I mean by that is your true self. Your true self comes out in the ring because it's just you, the person you're fighting, and basically it helps you really understand yourself.
Would you say boxing, because it sounds a bit like an oxymoron, because obviously boxing is a violent sport, okay? But you hear people often say that when they started boxing, it made them less violent, made them more calm. And I sit and think, how does that work?
Because it's humbling, isn't it?
You know,
Okay.
it's quite confidence.
It's very humbling.
exactly.
You know what you can do.
When you know your power, you know your power now. So it's like, and that's it. That ties into like even the role element. When you know your power, you know that okay. You know how to deal with it differently. You know how to, you know.
And how much of boxing would you say made people on the ends maybe think, oh, let's just leave him alone? Because at what point would you say the Rose knew you boxed?
Truthfully,
Or they knew you were handed with your hands?
I think truthfully, bro, I think I've had more fights outside the ring than inside the ring.
Okay.
So I think that was probably from school days. I was always fighting.
Yeah.
So, but then
Why would you say that was though? As in, what would you say? Was it a case of where you thought to yourself that if someone does something to you, or someone you think violates you, the first point of call is violence? So what would you say made you fight so much?
because it started from so young, I would say there had to be some level of pain involved,
Okay.
suppressed pain again. But also, I think it's genetics. My dad was a fighter, in and outside of the ring in his early days. So yeah, I think amongst my peers, my brothers, I think fighting was just more like a normal thing. It was kind of normalized.
Yeah.
Like you had to know how to throw your hands. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think with I always ask parents especially this question: if you had to pick, so say you had your son was in school and you had to pick one of the two, would you rather your son was the bully or being bullied?
Wow, wait, that's a deep question.
It's a very tough question.
Very, very tough.
What's your answer to that, Wes? Why he's thinking?
The bully,
You rather your son was the bully?
100%.
Why?
Because it's optional. I think when you're a victim, generally you don't have a choice but to be the victim. Whereas if you're the bully, you can change. And I always just think bullying really affects people. Whereas generally I find the bullies,
Don't really,
it doesn't, you know,
They don't have the same trauma.
there's a hierarchy to life and things, and I just feel like the bully's always on top.
More time the bully always eventually gets bullied and then sees it from a different angle. You know?
They
And
get
then the
humbled.
bully changes as well.
Yeah.
But that's boxing though. You fight a more senior experienced
But on the road
fighter.
as well though.
Yeah,
And in
100%.
school
Yeah,
dynamics. But yeah.
There's always a bad man for you.
Yeah.
But what is a bad man? I think obviously we've all grown up in certain environments, and I think we kind of heralded the bad man. I think growing up, like in the ends when Croydon, there was one or two guys who we knew was like how does someone become a bad man? I know it's a very silly question, but what is a bad man, and why do you think the youths or some youths are gearing and wanting to be that person? Like, did you want to be that person?
No, I don't think I did want to be that person, but at the same time, I wasn't really prepared to settle for disrespect.
Okay. So you would say that you wasn't would you say you was a troublemaker?
I would say that maybe to some people looking outside, they would say, yeah, you may have been a troublemaker, but those that knew me, I would say my heart's always been good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Probably mainly because of the fundamentals my mum instilled in me and my dad instilled in me. But I think
What is a bad man like? So, because coming from an angle of counselling and therapy, would you say it's just someone that's troubled? Would you say it's someone that has suppressed issues or pain? Because there are certain guys when we're growing up who I don't think I ever saw them without a screw face. Now we know they don't wake up with a screw face. So the question is where do you think, from a therapy point of view, a counselling point of view, what creates that individual?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say that everyone's got their own definition of a bad man. But some of the things you just mentioned, it can be your childhood, it can be things that you suppress, it can be not being aware of yourself and just wanting to just rebel, a sense of rebelliousness for your pain or for what is, you know. Yeah, because there's some people that are kind of like very serious and move serious, and that's them. Other people that are trying to just trying to fit in. But I think when it's all said and done, you could have somebody that's kind of like, in terms of, not, I wouldn't even say square, but just he works, he does his thing, but they still got a certain
I tell you that is to me.
Yeah.
That's Francis to me.
Yeah.
So
Francis,
if you remember Francis,
Francis
was the, wouldn't call him a square. Francis was the cool guy, but everyone knew that Francis, like, if you want to have a physical with Francis,
he's strong.
Yeah, he's strong. Be ready.
Leading off that, yeah. Something that
Just a guy in my school. There's a guy who was in my class, so he was a top student in the whole of the class, the whole of the school, to be fair. Nathan Taylor Wright, but everyone in our class knew he was the strongest by far, but most of the school didn't know that because they just thought, Nathan was the smart kid and the buffing, but the baddest kids in the class and all the good kids were friends with Nathan, but everyone else didn't understand like why Nathan just kind of he had the easy cut through school, never had no dramas, no beef. But
that to me was Francis.
Yeah.
Francis was, anyone who knew Francis was not no bad boy, whatever you call it, but
those are the most dangerous guys.
just know if you want to have a one-on-one straight to Francis,
you know
you got to be ready.
As well, yeah.
Long
Like
day.
these youths out here, I think it's important for them to understand is that there's a warrior spirit in a lot of these youths, because look, they're going out there, they're committing it, they're committing it basically, and I feel like it's important for them to know that same warrior spirit, that's always gonna be with you, and you don't need to change that warrior spirit. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It just needs to just be
Tweaked and fine-tuned a bit.
What do you think could be the solutions in diverting them from the roads?
Well,
What could help them?
I think there's many layers to the answer, but personally I think conflict resolution would be a good thing to look into. How we address basically disrespect and having certain minds,
Emotional intelligence.
that can steer it. And obviously with conflict resolution, you still have to look at the conflict that's going on within yourself. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But conflict resolution is something that I think something I want to concentrate on more. But it's many layers, and I think everyone that we've all reached to a stage where we're mature men, and I feel like everybody has something, strength to give. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's why I'm aligning with this purpose right now. I want, because with all the experiences that I've been through, I feel really the Most High is guiding me to a place now where I have to basically give back wisdom, help, but it comes naturally anyway. It's automatic, you know. But yeah. What
would you say to the 18-year-old you? If you was having a conversation with the 18-year-old Ryan, what would you say to him? Think about when you was 18, what you was doing at 18, and if you could have a conversation with him now, as a grown man, what would you say to the 18-year-old you?
I would say you're gonna make it to where you need to get to, firstly, and I would say that I would say don't take things too personally. You know what I mean? That's one thing. Don't take things too personally. Trust the process, something we hear a lot. But also, just know that the Most High isn't something that's separate from you. You know what I mean? and trust yourself more, you know what I mean. Sometimes we go through a stage in life where we can lose confidence in different areas, not just in that way, but just in different areas, and it's like you have to have the right sort of people around you. You have to feed yourself the right things. Discipline. Discipline's a major.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because discipline strengthens you in areas that you can't see.